Part 1. The New Neighbors Expanded Version minus 1,000 words. Emma and Ryan had lived in their small Portland neighborhood for almost 5 years. Life there was peaceful, quiet streets lined with maple trees, kids biking in the evenings, and the soft hum of lawnmowers on weekends. They had found a rhythm that felt safe and familiar. Emma worked as a freelance designer from home while Ryan managed a local hardware store. Their days were simple: morning coffee on the porch, dinner together, then a walk around the block holding hands. It wasn't perfect, but it was theirs. One sunny Saturday, Emma noticed a moving truck parked outside the empty house next door. A young couple was unloading boxes. The woman had shoulder-length blonde hair and wore a loose summer dress. The man, taller and quieter, carried furniture with calm determination. There was laughter between them, the kind of laughter that comes when everything feels new. Emma, curious and friendly by nature, decided to welcome them properly. She baked a batch of chocolate chip cookies, her signature gesture whenever someone new arrived on the street. Ryan smiled when he saw her packaging them neatly. "You're the friendliest neighbor anyone could ask for," he teased. She nudged him playfully. "And you're coming with me?" When they knocked, the door opened almost immediately. The woman greeted them with a bright, open smile. "Oh, hi. I'm Olivia," she said, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "And this is my husband, Mark." Ryan introduced himself and Emma, and soon they were standing inside, surrounded by half-open boxes and the smell of new paint. Olivia's energy filled the room. Warm, curious, talkative. She asked about everything: where to get the best coffee nearby, who to call for repairs, which nights were quiet. Mark stood by, smiling softly, his presence calm and grounding. Emma noticed how he let Olivia take the lead in every conversation. They chatted for almost an hour before Emma finally left the cookies on the counter and said goodbye. As she walked back home, she turned to Ryan and said, "They seem nice. Maybe a little too energetic, but nice." Ryan laughed. "We could use some energy around here." Over the next few weeks, the four became friends naturally. It started with small gestures, borrowing tools, exchanging dinner invitations, talking over fences while watering plants. Olivia loved organizing get-togethers, and before long, Emma and Ryan found themselves spending most weekends next door. Olivia and Mark were newly married, barely 2 years in, and still finding their footing as a couple. They often talked about their dreams, travel plans, and new jobs. Olivia worked as a photographer, while Mark had just started a remote tech position. They were ambitious and full of ideas, but Emma sometimes noticed small cracks between their cheerful moments. Olivia would get frustrated easily, while Mark often grew quiet, retreating into himself. One late evening, as the four sat around a small backyard fire pit, Olivia asked a question that caught Emma off guard. "You two seem so in sync," she said, watching Emma and Ryan laugh over an inside joke. "How do you do it? You've been married longer, but you still seem close." Emma smiled, unsure how to answer. "I guess we just talk a lot," she said softly, "even when it's hard." Ryan nodded. "And we try not to keep score. It's not about who's right, it's about staying connected." Olivia looked thoughtful, almost emotional. "I want that," she said quietly. Mark reached for her hand, but she didn't notice right away. That moment stayed with Emma long after they went home. There was something sincere in Olivia's voice, a longing that Emma recognized from her own early years of marriage. Love was easy when everything was new, but over time it demanded patience, forgiveness, and quiet effort. Days passed and the friendship deepened. Emma and Olivia started taking morning walks together. They shared coffee, recipes, and stories from their lives. Olivia loved asking personal questions about Emma's marriage: how they handled disagreements, how they stayed affectionate. She listened closely, like she was studying something important. One morning, as they walked through the park, Olivia said, Mark and I never really had examples like you and Ryan. My parents divorced when I was little. I don't even know what a steady relationship looks like." Emma's heart softened. "It's not always steady," she admitted, "but we choose each other every day. That's what matters." Later that evening, Ryan mentioned something odd. Mark told me today that Olivia really looks up to you. He said, he said she talks about us a lot. Maybe too much. Emma raised an eyebrow. Too much. Ryan shrugged. Not in a bad way. He said she wants to learn from us how we communicate, how we trust each other. Emma smiled faintly. That's sweet, actually, but something about it lingered in her mind. The next weekend, Olivia and Mark invited them over for a small dinner to celebrate finishing their home setup. The table was beautifully arranged, candles flickering, soft jazz playing, Olivia radiant in a simple dress. Conversation flowed easily, but underneath it, Emma sensed a quiet curiosity in Olivia's eyes whenever she and Ryan interacted. When Ryan leaned close to refill Emma's glass, Olivia smiled knowingly. When Emma laughed at something Ryan said, Olivia's expression softened, almost wistful. After dinner, while the men stepped outside to bring dessert, Olivia said quietly, I hope this doesn't sound strange, but watching you and Ryan together, it's inspiring. I want to understand that kind of connection. The way you communicate without words. Emma blushed slightly. It just comes with time, she said. We've been through a lot together. Olivia nodded slowly. I can see that. It's beautiful. At that moment, Mark and Ryan returned, and the conversation changed. But Emma couldn't shake the feeling that something had just shifted subtly, but deeply. That night, as she and Ryan got ready for bed, she said, Do you ever feel like Olivia's watching us a little too closely? Ryan chuckled. She's just curious, Em. They're newlyweds. Maybe they're trying to learn. Emma smiled, but she wasn't sure why her heart felt uneasy. Olivia's curiosity seemed more than admiration. It felt like fascination as autumn crept into the air. The friendship between the two couples continued, but there was a quiet tension beneath the warmth, a sense that something new was forming, something that might test all four of them in ways they hadn't imagined. And though Emma didn't know it yet, Olivia's interest wasn't just about admiration. It was about discovery, and that discovery would soon change them all. Part 2. The Curious Request Expanded Version minus 1,000 words. The first chill of autumn settled over Portland, and the golden leaves made the neighborhood look like something out of a painting. Emma and Ryan had grown used to their new friends, Olivia and Mark. What began as casual hangouts had become a weekly routine: dinners, board games, movie nights, and endless conversations. Yet Emma started noticing something different. Olivia had become more observant, sometimes watching the way Emma and Ryan interacted with a quiet intensity. It wasn't uncomfortable at first, but it was hard not to notice. One evening, Olivia invited them over for dinner, saying she had a special evening planned. Her voice over the phone sounded excited, almost nervous. When Emma and Ryan arrived, Olivia's house was warm and welcoming. Candles flickered across the dining table. Soft instrumental music played, and the smell of roasted herbs filled the air. Mark greeted them with his usual calm smile, while Olivia looked radiant, full of energy. Dinner was pleasant at first. They talked about work, travel, dreams, and funny memories from their early marriages. Mark told stories from his college days, making everyone laugh, while Olivia kept the wine flowing. But as the meal went on, the tone shifted. Olivia leaned forward, her voice lowering just slightly. Her eyes focused on Emma and Ryan. I want to ask you both something, she said quietly, and I hope it doesn't sound strange. Ryan looked curious. Go ahead, Olivia hesitated, then said, You two seem deeply connected. I see it in the way you look at each other, the way you listen. Mark and I, we don't have that yet. We're trying, but it feels like we're missing something. I was wondering if maybe we could learn from you. The room went still for a moment. Emma blinked, unsure what Olivia meant. Learn from us, she asked softly. Olivia nodded earnestly. Not like lessons, but more like observing how you both make things work, how you handle disagreements, how you stay close. Mark shifted uncomfortably. Liv, he murmured, but Olivia squeezed his hand. No, I mean it, she said. We've tried therapy, books, everything, but seeing you two together, it's real. It's what I want us to have. Ryan gave a small, kind smile. "I appreciate that," he said. "Honestly, it's taken us years to get where we are. We've made mistakes, learned patience, and, well, we're still learning." Emma nodded slowly. "Relationships aren't easy," she said. "But if you think it helps to talk about what we've learned, we'd be happy to share." Olivia's face lit up with relief. "That's all I wanted, to learn to understand." The rest of the evening turned into something deeper than any of them expected. The conversation shifted to honesty, trust, and forgiveness. Emma found herself opening up about the hard years, how she and Ryan had once nearly drifted apart because of work stress and unspoken resentment. Ryan talked about learning to communicate instead of shutting down. Mark listened closely, asking quiet questions. While Olivia's eyes filled with emotion, when they left that night, Emma felt oddly lighter. She liked helping. Maybe Olivia just needed guidance, a friend who understood. But deep down, she couldn't ignore how intense Olivia's attention had become, like she was studying their marriage as if it were a mystery she needed to solve. Over the next few weeks, Olivia and Mark spent even more time with them. They joined Emma and Ryan for morning jogs, grocery trips, even Sunday brunches. Olivia often asked personal questions. How do you stay calm during fights? Do you still surprise each other? How do you keep this spark alive after years? And though the questions were harmless, there was always a strange kind of eagerness in her tone. Ryan didn't seem bothered. He found Olivia's curiosity flattering. "Maybe we're setting a good example," he said one night as they watched TV. Emma nodded, but her instincts told her something deeper was going on. Olivia wasn't just admiring, she was searching for something. A few days later, Olivia invited Emma over alone. Mark was at work, and Ryan was busy with an early shift. Emma found Olivia sitting in her living room, surrounded by photo albums. "I was just looking through old pictures," Olivia said with a smile, handing Emma a cup of tea. "Sometimes I wonder when we lost that excitement." Emma sat beside her. "You haven't lost it," she said gently. "It just changes. Excitement becomes comfort, and comfort becomes trust." Olivia looked down at her hands. "I know, I watch you and Ryan and I see something steady. You're so calm with each other. I wish I could bottle that feeling." Emma didn't know what to say. It was touching and a little unsettling. That weekend, Olivia and Mark hosted another dinner, but this one felt different. There was no big meal, just drinks and conversation. At one point, Olivia said softly, "You know, watching you both has already changed us. We talk more now. We don't hide things. It's like we're learning through you." Ryan smiled. "That's great, Olivia. That's all we ever wanted, to see you two happy." But then she added something unexpected. "Sometimes I wonder if we could spend a day just being around you, not to invade your privacy, but to see how you connect in real life, how you react naturally." Emma froze for a second. "You mean, like observing us at home?" Olivia nodded, a little embarrassed. "I know it sounds weird. I just think we could learn a lot from seeing love in action. The way you handle small moments." Mark sighed softly. "Live, that's a bit much." But Olivia looked sincere, almost pleading. Not in a strange way. Just as friends learning from friends. Ryan exchanged a look with Emma, unsure whether to laugh or to take it seriously. After a pause, he said lightly, "If you really want to, maybe one day you can hang around when we're cooking or something. But there's nothing special to see. We're just two boring people." Olivia smiled, but her eyes said something else. Curiosity mixed with admiration, maybe even longing. After they went home, Emma couldn't stop thinking about it. "Did you find that odd?" she asked Ryan as they got ready for bed. Ryan shrugged. "A little, but she's harmless. She's just fascinated by relationships." "Maybe it's her way of learning," Emma sighed. "I hope so. But it feels like we've become a mirror for her." That night, she couldn't sleep. Her mind kept replaying Olivia's words. "I just want to see how you connect in real life." It felt like something deeper than curiosity, something that might soon test all of them, Still, she decided to trust her instincts, to stay kind, open, but cautious. She didn't know yet that this quiet request, meant so innocently, would soon lead to revelations none of them expected. It wouldn't destroy them, but it would change the way they understood love, loyalty, and what it truly means to let someone learn from your life. And as autumn deepened, with leaves swirling across the streets and nights growing colder, the distance between curiosity and emotion began to blur, and Emma could feel it, quietly, dangerously in the air between their two homes. Part 3. What happened next shocked me. Expanded version, minus 1,000 words. The rain had returned to Portland, soft and steady, washing the leaves off the streets. Emma stood by the kitchen window one gray afternoon, watching the drops race down the glass. Life felt strangely quiet lately. Olivia and Mark hadn't visited in a few days, and though Emma missed their company, she was also relieved. Things had grown complicated, not in words, but in feelings. The line between friendship and something deeper had started to blur. That weekend, Olivia called and invited them over again. Her voice sounded different, calm, maybe even nervous. "We've been thinking a lot," she said. "We'd love to see you both tonight. There's something we want to share." Emma hesitated for a moment, but agreed. "Sure, we'll be there." When they arrived, the mood in Olivia and Mark's house felt softer than usual. The candles were lit again, but this time the air was quieter. No laughter, no excitement. Olivia greeted them warmly, her smile gentle but thoughtful. Mark looked more relaxed than Emma had ever seen him. They sat together in the living room with tea instead of wine. The sound of rain filled the spaces between their words. After a few minutes of small talk, Olivia took a deep breath and said, "We owe you both an explanation." Emma looked at her curiously. Olivia's voice trembled slightly as she continued, "When we moved here, our marriage was falling apart. We didn't say it, but it was true. We fought over everything: money, work, even silence. Then we met you two, watching you. It reminded me what love could look like: kind, patient, real." Mark nodded. "At first I thought it was silly. Olivia kept saying she wanted to learn from you. I didn't understand. But as time went on, I realized she wasn't trying to copy your relationship. She was trying to remember what it felt like to believe in love again." Ryan smiled gently. "I'm glad we could help, even if we didn't mean to." Olivia looked at Emma with teary eyes. "It's more than help. You made me face myself. I saw how much I had been controlling, criticizing, expecting everything to be perfect. But love isn't perfect, is it? It's about grace, about staying even when it's hard." Emma felt her chest tighten. "No, it's not perfect," she said softly. "It's choosing someone every day, even when the feeling isn't easy." Mark reached for Olivia's hand, and she didn't pull away. For the first time, Emma saw something peaceful between them. Not the nervous energy of before, but something settled and real. Then, unexpectedly, Ryan spoke. His voice was calm but full of emotion. "You know, Olivia, you said you wanted to see how we connect. But I think we've learned from you too. Sometimes when you see someone fight to rebuild love, it reminds you not to take your own for granted." Ah. Emma turned to him, surprised by his honesty. He looked at her with that same quiet tenderness she'd fallen in love with years ago. "I forgot how much I love what we have," he said. "Watching them reminded me to hold on tighter." The room fell silent for a moment. Rain tapped against the windows like a heartbeat. Olivia smiled faintly. Maybe that's what this whole thing was about, all of us learning something from each other. The evening went on, but it felt different. There was no curiosity now, no silent comparisons, just understanding. They talked about forgiveness, growth, and how easy it is to forget that love needs care, not just comfort. Before leaving, Olivia walked Emma to the door. Her expression was soft, almost peaceful. "You know," she said, "I used to think watching love would teach me how to feel it. But I was wrong. Feeling it again, that's the real lesson. Thank you for being the mirror I didn't know I needed." Emma hugged her. "You found your way, Olivia. That's all that matters." When Emma and Ryan walked home, the night air felt fresh and quiet. They didn't speak for a while, just held hands as their shoes splashed through puddles. When they reached their porch, Ryan turned to her. "Do you ever think we were meant to meet them?" Emma nodded slowly. "Maybe we were. Sometimes people cross paths to remind you of something you've forgotten." He smiled, brushing a raindrop from her cheek. "Then they reminded me how lucky I am." They stood there for a long time under the soft drizzle, the kind that carries peace more than sadness. Inside, Emma made hot cocoa, and they sat by the window watching the rain. She leaned her head on his shoulder and said quietly, "I was afraid we'd lost our spark too. But maybe it just needed a little reminder." Ryan kissed her forehead. "The spark was never gone. We just stopped looking for it." Days turned into weeks, and life settled again. Olivia and Mark seemed different, calmer, more connected. Sometimes Emma saw them walking hand in hand down the street, laughing quietly. They still visited often, but now the energy was easy, steady. There was no more watching or questioning, just friendship built on mutual respect and shared growth. One chilly evening, Olivia brought over a small gift, a framed photo of the four of them at one of their dinners. On the back she had written a simple message. "Thank you for teaching us that love isn't something you find. It's something you choose." Emma smiled as she read it. The words felt true for all of them. That night, she placed the photo on their mantel. It wasn't just a memory, it was a quiet reminder of how life brings people together for reasons we don't always see. Later, as Ryan locked up for the night, he said, "You know, I think that chapter with Olivia and Mark was good for us." Emma nodded. It was real. Emotional, confusing, but real. And I think that's what life is. Messy lessons wrapped in unexpected friendships. She turned off the lights and followed him to bed. The rain had stopped, leaving the world outside still and clean. Lying beside him, she whispered, "Do you think they'll be okay?" Ryan smiled in the dark. "I think they already are." And as Emma drifted off to sleep, she realized something simple yet powerful. Sometimes people enter your life not to stay forever, but to remind you what's worth keeping. Olivia and Mark had been that reminder. They came curious and searching, and they left stronger. While Emma and Ryan rediscovered something they hadn't even realized they were missing. Gratitude for a love that had quietly endured. Outside, the streetlights glowed softly, reflecting off puddles that shimmered like glass. The neighborhood was silent, but inside two homes, side by side, love had found new meaning. Not perfect, not dramatic, but true. And that was the lesson they all needed. That love isn't about being flawless or impressive. It's about being seen, being patient, and letting others teach you, even when you thought you were the ones doing the teaching that night. For the first time in a long while, Emma felt a quiet joy fill her chest. Maybe life's surprises weren't meant to shock or break her. Maybe they were meant to open her eyes. And as she fell asleep, the last thought in her mind was simple but certain. Real love doesn't fade when shared, it grows.